Less likely to be thundery, but across the southern areas we do have that frontal system making its way further east, so some rain for many, and it could be quite heavy. There could be some thunder mixed in with it as well. Temperatures are going to be similar to today. We're looking at high teens, low 20s, so feeling warm enough in any sunny breaks, but less so in the unsettled weather. Talking of unsettled weather, Wednesday's looking pretty wet, and it could be quite windy as a spell of rain makes its way across much of the country. Perhaps western Scotland avoiding this and staying largely fine. And then a showery picture on Thursday before a bit of a northwest-southeast split on Friday, wetter towards the northwest. Bye-bye.
Today's outlook: cool, calm and completely horizontal. Boxed Aircon sponsors the weather on GB News.
Yes, well, loads on in the paper show. The Metro have got a fascinating story about a Somalian man who wants to go back home because he doesn't feel he's safe in Nuneaton. The Times is doing a story about Rachel Reeves saying that Yvette Cooper, saying that refugees will be stopped from bringing in their families. There's quite a bit going on about turmoil behind the scenes in Number 10 as well. Rachel Reeves smiling through the pain makes a change from her crying in public in the House of Commons, doesn't it? Has she just been undermined by Starmer? Stay tuned.
It's our biggest Great British giveaway to date. You could be driving away with this brand new Benamar Primera motorhome. This 4-berth home from home comes complete with integrated kitchen and bathroom areas and has all of the tech you'd expect from the latest 2025 model. We'll also give you an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash to make sure that any adventures you take in your new motorhome are taken in style. For a chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m. weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Miriam, you can't be serious. Scrapping the triple lock on state pensions? Madness.
Andrew, we just can't carry on pretending. The numbers just don't add up. We've got to be honest with people. We've got to face the facts. That's what people want.
Well, that's what you get on GB News and on Britain's Newsroom. Lively debates, lively conversation.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first, and we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pearce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk then?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I ever got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m.
Only on GB News.
Welcome along to Patrick Christys Tonight, late edition, breaking right now.
We need to close all asylum hotels, and we need to do so for good.
3,567 in, 0 out. That is the Daily Mail's front page, and it is pointing to that so-called one in, one out Labour small boat fiasco. Whilst we're on the subject, this man is now Sir Keir Starmer's right-hand man.
And when you see that the majority of the people in these boats are children, babies and women who have been...
No, they're not. Good grief. Has Sir Keir Starmer frozen Rachel Reeves out by stealing her number 2? We've got left-wing high-tax fanatics now coming for you in the next budget. Meanwhile...
The vibe is unbelievable.
Well, Nigel Farage has warned Sir Keir Starmer, I will get rid of you. That's on the Daily Express. And Mr Rao over his not being invited to the state banquet for President Trump's visit. Plus...
There's one rule for them and one rule for all of us.
Sometimes there's just a clip that haunts you, isn't there? And I think that's the one. Angela Rayner has claimed that she would love to be open about her tax affairs. She'd love to be. Oh, gosh, how she wishes. However, there's a court order that says she's been gagged. That's on the front of tomorrow's Daily Telegraph. And finally...
I want to come here to eat and sleep like baby. You understand? Just I have life, go back and in Somalia. The country is not safe, but my country now, I'm safe. I want to go back.
A convicted migrant criminal has asked to be deported back to Somalia, claiming it would be much safer than Nuneaton. Well, joining us this evening, we've got political commentator James Price, journalist and broadcaster Benjamin Butterworth, and GBNews contributor and comedian Leo Kearse. But first, let's get those headlines with Sam Francis.
Hello, very good evening to you from the newsroom. The top story at 11. Well, the biggest shake-up of Britain's borders in years. That's the promise from the Home Secretary today. The first returns under a new treaty with France will begin later this month, alongside tougher language rules, expanded detention and a crackdown on smuggling gangs. Yvette Cooper says she's committed to fixing every aspect of the broken system she claims Labour inherited from the Conservatives.
Solving problems, not exploiting them. A serious and comprehensive plan, not fantasy claims based on sums that don't add up or gimmicks that failed in the past. What we will never do is seek to stir up chaos, division or hate, because that is not who we are as a country, and that is not what Britain stands for.
But the Conservatives claim the government is failing to get a grip on the small boats crisis, and Shadow Home Secretary Chris Philp says Labour's decision to abandon the Rwanda plan has left Britain without a real deterrent.
If someone enters this country illegally, they should not be allowed to bring in any family members. In fact, everybody entering this country illegally should be immediately removed to their country of origin, if possible, and if not possible, to a safe third country such as Rwanda, a scheme which she cancelled just days before it was due to start.
Meanwhile, Sir Keir Starmer is reshaping his Downing Street team, creating a brand new role at number 10. Labour's Darren Jones is moving from the Treasury to become Chief Secretary to the Prime Minister, a job designed, in the words of officials, to turbocharge the government. Jones will be based in number 10, overseeing work across Whitehall to drive the Prime Minister's priorities. James Murray replaces him as Treasury Chief Secretary, while Dan Tomlinson becomes Exchequer Secretary. It follows Sir Keir's recent move to bring in Baroness Minucci Shafiq, the former Columbia University president, now his chief economic advisor. And the Conservatives are challenging Labour to rule out new property taxes, forcing a Commons vote ahead of the budget. Chancellor Rachel Reeves is under pressure to plug a gap in the public finances, with sluggish growth and higher borrowing costs piling on the strain. Options reportedly on the table include scrapping capital gains tax relief on expensive homes or tightening inheritance tax rules. The vote's expected on Wednesday, with opposition leader Kemi Badenoch saying that ministers need to come clean on their plans.
We need the government to be honest with people. They have been making a lot of noise about black holes. The truth is, they're the ones who created a black hole with their budget last year. They tax businesses who have shed loads of jobs. Unemployment has been rising every single month. since Labour came into power. The economy is doing really badly under them, and now they're coming back for more. So we need them to be honest, and that is what the vote on Wednesday is about. Labour telling us exactly what it is they're going to do, but we're the only party that will defend home ownership.
And, well, it is the signing of the summer. Liverpool have smashed the British transfer record to land Alexander Isak from Newcastle for £125 million. The Sweden striker, who sank the Reds in last season's Carabao Cup final, has signed a 6-year deal at Anfield. The move went right down to the deadline day, Newcastle announcing his exit 2.5 hours after the window closed. Those are the latest headlines for now. I'll be back with you tomorrow afternoon, but now it's over to Patrick.
Welcome along. Let's give you Tuesday's newspaper front pages. We start with an absolute corker in the Metro. I'd be safer in Somalia, says a bloke with a serious criminal conviction living over here. The Daily Express, Farage's "I'll get rid of you" threat to the Prime Minister. Nigel Farage accused Sir Keir Starmer of lying to the nation repeatedly. He said, "I'll get rid of you." The Times, refugees to be stopped bringing in families. This is I keep getting them mixed up tonight. Yvette Cooper's announcement that she is going to stop them bringing in their families. However, as we'll talk about a little bit later on, she'd open the door up to Gazan refugees and to allow refugees to work. So Cooper giveth with one hand and taketh away with the other. But The Guardian, PM tries to regain policy control from the Treasury in number 10 shake-up. Now, hey, by the way, we're all in phase 2, aren't we now? Do you remember this? So we've got through phase 1. Welcome to phase 2. I woke up this morning, I opened my eyes and I thought, gosh, it feels like a new phase, this morning. So, yeah, Starmer's decided to do a reshuffle. The Daily Mail, 3,567 in, 0 out. Those are quite the devastating numbers about Labour's, remember this, 1 in, 1 out scheme with the French. The Sun, strictly fat jabs alert. Apparently loads of Strictly stars are on the fat jabs. And according to Benjamin Butterworth, that's not all they're on. But anyway, the Mirror, ban the vapes. There you go. Ban them. Scientists warn of irreversible harm to young people's brains and hearts. Well, there we are. The Telegraph, smiling through the pain. Look at her go. Rachel Reeves. Hey, she's had a nice break. No need to cry in Parliament again. They've decided to put on a happy show, despite the fact that Keir Starmer's cut her off at the knees. The Eye, Starmer sees his grip of budget after Treasury mistakes hit Labour in the polls. So there we go. Difficult for the Treasury, though, when you're dealing with a bloke who has no ideology. But anyway, yes, let's get straight to my panel. Let's deal with our friend from Somalia first. We did have a clip of him in the intro there. I don't know if we might be able to revisit that, but he's an asylum seeker, also a convicted criminal for serious assault, who's saying that he'd be safer in Somalia than he is in Nuneaton. Leo?
Yeah, I mean, this is interesting. Some people would say that the hostile environment is working. This is what happens when the government doesn't actually deal with the problem and lets problems, angers fester. But I think I'd probably feel safer in Somalia as well. They've got sunshine. They've got nice food. They've got a government that doesn't fund Islamist mosques as much as our government does. The Somalian government hasn't given any money to the Green Lanes Mosque in Birmingham. I don't know. I think this is something we're going to see more of, because people see Britain on social media. They think it's the land of the Cotswolds, Hugh Grant, all the rest of it. Then they get here and they see it's actually pure UK aesthetics, vape shops, delivery drivers. You're getting mugged, and they want to go back. Who can blame them? And the good news is there's loads of boats that can go back because they're empty when they get here.
Interesting. I think at this point I should probably say we haven't reached out to the Green Lanes Mosque in Birmingham for comment. They might deny that they are in fact an Islamist mosque. But let's just go to our Somali friend and hear what he has to say.
I want to come here to eat and sleep like baby. You understand? Just I have life, go back, and in Somalia. The country is not safe, but my country now, I'm safe. I want to go back.
There's an option here, isn't there, Jade?
Well, I think there is a serious shortage of Black Hawk military helicopters in Nuneaton for this guy to go and ransack, right?
Well,
so no wonder that he wants to go home.
Send them to Somalia, mate, after what happens.
But this is a guy who's been here for 20 years. His English is not everything it might be after living here for 20 years. And he's managed to make so little of his life here, the poor guy, that he can't even afford his own flight back to Somalia and wants the British taxpayer to do it. There's a wonderful thing they did in the United States, that they used to have an app that when you crossed over illegally illegally from Mexico, you could use this app to claim asylum. And rather than just scrap that, the Trump administration have changed the app. So the same one is the one you can now use to, quote, self-deport, which is a much nicer way when you can go, yeah, you know what, hands up, you got me. No need to shoot me, no need to stab or anything. I'll go, I'll do it to myself. And maybe we can have one of those coming soon in the new government, whenever it comes.
Yeah, I mean, why don't we just help him out?
What, pay for the flight back? I mean, they have done that for some people, haven't they? I mean, he says, I'd be safer in Somalia. Given he's got a conviction for assault, I think we'd be safer if he was in Somalia, right? I imagine whoever he assaulted would probably rather he was in Somalia. And actually, on a sort of more serious level, the idea that you can get a criminal record and remain in this country is absurd. I think at the moment it has to be more than 2 years, and it's about to change to more than a year prison time before they have the opportunity to deport you. Frankly, if you've done something like serious assault, you shouldn't still be here anyway.
Well, he claims that he's been asking the Home Office for 5 months to go up, and they've not heard anything from him. Which just begs the question, like, what is going on at the Home Office? I mean, this guy's being served to you on a plate.
I just can't believe that the Home Office would be disorganised and incapable of doing something like that. I don't know. I mean, I think the private sector, he needs to reach out to some of these people smugglers and say, do you do return? That's who he needs to speak to. But I think this does raise the case of we need to have humanitarian resettlement. I see so many people on social media complaining that Britain is such a horrifically racist, horrible, hostile place. So clearly we need to have, instead of talking about deporting or immigration, we need humanitarian resettlement.
Yeah, well, we did do a segment earlier on in which I got very annoyed when someone was banging on about the countryside being racist. And I just think, well, you know, I mean, they decided to build a £2.5 million mega mosque in Cumbria. Can't be that racist, can it, really? There's busloads of tourists from all over the world coming there all the time. But you know, I mean, if it is that bad, you know, maybe people could seek to live in another country.
Well, exactly right. I think we could do a whip round for this guy, frankly, right? Rather than make the taxpayer do it, I'm sure there'll be a lot of voluntary people willing to do this.
Yeah.
And you do see this in lots of protests. Again, you see it in the United States. You had these people waving the Mexico flag during riots in Los Angeles. So, all right, we'll send you back to Mexico. Please, God, no, anything but that. And you see the same thing here on these protests.
Yeah.
All these flags going, including, by the way, still lots of European Union flags. You like it so much, I'm sure that we can help people.
And something that Trump's doing that I love is he doesn't deport people back to the country they came from. He just picks a random country. It's like, you come from Mexico, you're going to Uganda. You know what I mean? If you come from Somalia, sorry, you're going to Iceland.
Do it as a game show, right? Right, a kind of Wheel of Fortune, or like Deal or No Deal. Let's see where you're going to end up.
But that
we
is
can make
what
some money off of it.
You're joking, but Donald Trump floated exactly that idea. It was one of the ideas the White House had was to do a reality show in which they deport people.
Yes,
that was absolutely an idea.
Sensible policies for a better Britain. Let's do it.
James, you know, you could move from Downing Street to the White House. You're on the right track.
Well, it could be much worse.
Where the money is. But anyway, so look, there's a couple of newspapers that we'll touch on as well. Let's go to the Daily Mail first. They are trying to expose the, as they put it, fiasco of this one-in, one-out deal that we signed with the French that so far has meant 3,567 in and 0 out. So, yeah, not a sausage has been returned to the French.
Nobody is going back. Nobody is going back. This whole thing is kayfabe. It's all just like wrestlers before the match. You know, like Macron and Starmer whacking each other over the head with one of those folding chairs. It's a nonsense. It's it didn't mean anything. We know it's not gonna. Nobody's going back as a result of this. And if anybody does, you know, in 12 years' time, actually end up going back, it won't make any difference whatsoever. And all the stuff that they're talking about, so getting people out of the hotels, they'll just repurpose them in other places. They'll just put them in HMOs, or they'll kick some council tenants out, some native Brits out to make space for them. That's what's going to happen, and that, in some ways, it'll be worse because, you know, they won't be as supervised by security guards. And some of those security guards are armed. They can really deal with things if things get out of hand.
Quite. Benjamin, are we being unfair?
Yes.
You know, she's not had time to get these flights off the ground yet, and it will work. It will.
Well, this scheme hasn't delivered it yet. It's expected during September the first people will be deported. But 35,000 people have been deported in the last year. There was a story in one of the papers yesterday that Under the last year of Tory government, 99% of Afghans wanting refugee status had it approved. In the last 12 months, under Labour, it's been 37%. So they've slashed the numbers massively. I think suggesting there's nobody being deported or nobody having a change of rules is completely unfair.
Well, the slight problem, James, is that the government cannot confirm whether or not a single-channel migrant has been deported in that 35,000.
It's true. That 35,000 might sound like a lot. It's not bad for a kind of a League One football game. Whilst Israel was blowing Iran to holy hell, in that time they still managed to deport 1 million Afghans themselves as that was going on.
From Israel?
Yeah, from Iran.
From Iran.
You're seeing huge flows of this happening. You're seeing Pakistan deporting Afghans. You're seeing all these massive movements of people, and we're trying to think that over a year you've got 35,000 people. This is pretty pathetic. Heathrow can handle more than that. And we've got to be serious about these numbers.
I was in Afghanistan when they were being deported from Iran, and there was just bus after bus after bus labelled as Afghani refugees.
What were the Taliban doing to those people out of interest?
In what sense?
Because that's the thing, isn't it? We couldn't deport these people because the Taliban would just kill them. But if 1 million came back from Iran in short order...
More than 1 million.
Well, presumably they didn't just slaughter them all.
Well, they were just all in massive coaches being... When I was crossing Afghanistan, going into Kabul, and they were being brought back because Iran suspects that Afghanistan had helped Israel. That was part of its claim. But they've managed to do it, in a matter of weeks, 1 million people. And actually, there was no outrage about that mass movement of people and people's lives being dismantled in that way.
That's the thing. I mean, people on the left who are screaming about the prospect of deportations in the UK said nothing about Iran, nothing about Pakistan deporting over 1 million each. And that just shows that it's not about kindness to these people. It's about bringing them here to destabilise Western civilization, destroy the nation state, and introduce some sort of communist system.
There was a really lovely version when this happened, when some of the protests in Bangladesh kicked off. A lot of Bangladeshi workers working in the UAE, and they thought, oh, we'll have a go at this protesting here in Dubai, and they do it for about 5 minutes. The Emiratis go, oh, that's interesting, you're off. 20,000 over a weekend. If we don't do that here in this country, get out. But it can be done. It doesn't have to be cruel or anything.
The UAE, Dubai, places like that, they've got such high levels of immigration. People always say, like, well, they've got so much immigration and they make it work. Yeah, they make it work because they don't suppress the native people. They actually elevate the native people. In Dubai, native people have more rights than people who come to stay.
Yeah, although I'm not sure they treat some of the migrants very well at all. But, I'll let you into a piece of knowledge. When I was in the UAE recently, I was speaking to, someone high up in the British embassy, and he was saying that they don't want to send their young to British universities. The Emiratis don't want them to come to Britain because they're worried they'll be radicalised into Islamism and the Palestine question. So that tells you quite something, that people in Saudi and in the UAE are worried that Britain is too Islamic.
Look, a friend of mine took a taxi home once, and the taxi driver said that he was organising the arranged marriage of his son. And he said, OK, how do you do that then? He said, well, unfortunately, all the girls back home in Pakistan are too westernised, so we're finding someone from the north of England.
No. This is why my kids are going to school in Somalia.
Well, it's that or none eaten, mate. OK, so let's just... I'll show you the front of the Times, which is Rachel Reeves' announcement today, taking the fight to Farage, saying refugees to be stopped bringing in families. OK, fine, possibly a good idea. I think a good idea. However... what she followed it up with in the House of Commons was this.
I can confirm that the Home Office has put in place systems to issue expedited visas with biometric checks conducted prior to arrival for children and their immediate accompanying family members. And we have done the same for all the Chevening scholars and are in the process of doing so now for the next group of students from Gaza who have been awarded fully funded scholarships and places at UK universities so they can start their studies in autumn this year.
Was Angela Regal picking her nose next to her as well? It's the only way that clip could have got worse, isn't it? OK, so now we are importing Gazan students.
And this is a terrible idea. I'll tell you why, because we've got the lessons of history. So what happened when Lebanon allowed lots of Gazan refugees into Lebanon? Completely destabilised the country, slid into civil war, and Lebanon still hasn't recovered. Well, and when Jordan let in lots of Palestinian refugees...
What did she do?
Oh, wow. Sometimes the jokes write themselves, though, don't they? Anyway, yeah.
What happened? They attempted a military coup. They killed lots of people. There's a reason why all the countries around Gaza aren't taking the refugees, and for some reason, Labour think it's a good idea to bring them here.
Any views on the Gazan refugee situation? Anyone?
Yeah, well, I think it's exactly the same reason. Why are they going to do that? Because they think at some point they'll end up being grateful and voting for the Labour Party, right? And that may have been true for previous waves of people coming in, but as we saw in the last election with those 5 so-called independent MPs, they realised they don't need the Labour Party anymore, and we're seeing from this kind of mad Your Party or whatever it's called, that they're going to have a lot of political power. Of course, the wonderful thing about that is they've only just realised that the people who think there are 87 genders don't get on with the people who think that 85 of those genders, 85 and a half, should be thrown off roofs.
It's wonderful.
Funny, that.
It's wonderful. Let's talk about it earlier tonight. It's just great, isn't it? They've realised that, finally it's happening. So the trans lobby is now falling out with the fundamental Islamic lobby, who have both decided to try to create a new party together. It's brilliant, Benjamin, isn't it?
I don't think that's going to work. I mean, they've already got a split, and they've not even come up with a name yet.
I know.
That's pretty good going. Do I think we should take Gazans as refugees? No, not in general. But the idea you would block someone who's got a scholarship to Oxford, for example, who's from, and I think that is one of the cases, who's from Gaza, I think would be wrong.
I'd block them first.
Yeah. Why? Because they're more intelligent than you, I suspect.
Yes.
That would be the...
Yeah, exactly.
Their English is better.
You jealousy block them. You just shamelessly jealousy block them.
Yeah, we'll take Dumfries and Galloway Polytechnic College first.
Oh, interesting. Well, there you go. Right, OK, so coming up in just a moment.
There's one rule for them and one rule for all of us.
We reveal the reason that Angela Rayner won't tell us the truth about her growing property empire. Stay tuned.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact is Trump made a good start, no.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
This is the small boat crossing that everyone can cheer on, going from Fulham all the way back to HMS President in the city of London. It's going very well. I've walked 10 miles this morning with some armed forces veterans, their families, campaigners. GB News is raising money for SAFA and other armed forces charities as part of that Armed Forces Day celebration. Amazing viewers and listeners have raised £2,000 already. And after that gruelling 10-miler, which I have to say was done at quite a gentle pace, and now being treated to this luxurious return back to the starting point on board an HMS, a Royal Navy vessel. This is President 01. This is a training vessel that they use for reservists and also Royal Navy sailors as they make use of the Thames. We've had some great sights already. As we've been going back, we've seen plenty of people taking part in that SAFA 13 Bridges march, waving down on us. I think they're probably slightly jealous that they're still working away and we're enjoying the hospitality of the Royal Navy. But over 1,200 people taking part today, Dawn. Over 150 of them military reservists like myself and Will Mayrick, the producer for today's programme, doing excellent work. He's an RAF officer, in fact, I have to call him sir, which can get very embarrassing. But we're doing great work today, I think, really showcasing the armed forces. It's been amazing to speak to so many veterans, their families, and also many serving personnel on this march today as well. And we're just coming under, there's Vauxhall Bridge there. We've got MI6 to the right, very exciting. Always a beautiful sight, that iconic building. And there's going to be a lot of people still on the march as we go past, we accept. We just had some waves from the bridge earlier.
GB News, the People's Channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Welcome back to the late edition, where we bring you Tuesday's newspaper front pages. We start with the Daily Telegraph. The big story we're going to come on to a bit later on, which is Rachel Reeves smiling through the pain. This is the cabinet reshuffle. But we're going to zone in for this section on Angela Rayner. I would love to be open about my tax affairs, but I've been gagged. Let me read this to you. Angela Rayner has blamed it's quite convenient this, a confidential court order for preventing her disclosing details about her complex tax affairs. But she'd love to give them to us. I mean, God, if only she could, then it would all go away. The Deputy Prime Minister saved £40,000 on stamp duty when she bought a second home at the seaside in Hove for 800 grand. Weeks earlier, she relinquished her financial stake in her family home in her constituency in Ashton-under-Lyne, although it remains her primary residence. Sources close to Miss Rayner said she had sold her share of the, get this, £650,000 house in Ashton, although it's unclear who to. And £650,000 is the exact amount that you maximum before you pay inheritance tax on it, I believe.
No way.
So it's quite convenient.
I mean, that, isn't it? It'd be interesting as well to add, if this were the case, and I'm sure it's not, to one Lord Ali's property portfolio to have a share of a house in Ashton. I mean, a new area for him to invest in.
Yeah.
But it is this kind of thing, well, we're doing this because if there's a divorce and children involved, then that people use trusts, as the article says. That's fair enough. But it's interesting that Rayner should be able to use trusts and the law to protect assets for her children, when the government, of which she is the Deputy Prime Minister, is doing everything it can to destroy that for farmers, to the point where farmers are killing themselves early, literally shooting themselves so they can pass on their assets to their children before Rachel Reeves and co get their hands on it.
Well, the timing of it is fascinating because it's almost like she might have an idea about what's coming up in the budget. She's decided to do all of this now, whereas potentially, if some of the rumours are to be believed, you know, we're going to get absolutely hammered with capital gains tax when you sell your properties going forward. She's got it out of the way. Just to clarify on this thing, Angela Rayner's constituency home was valued at the exact threshold required to avoid paying inheritance tax in what experts have said was a remarkable coincidence. So this is being widely reported. So her Ashton-under-Lyne constituency home, shared with her ex-husband, was valued at £650,000, the highest amount possible before becoming liable for inheritance tax, apparently. So, I mean, smells a bit, doesn't it?
No, I don't think it does. I think this is totally unfair, and the reason they're doing this is because they know what a relatable, what a popular politician Angela Rayner is. She absolutely is, like it or not, and I like it. And the thing is that she doesn't have 3 homes, which has been the headline. She has 1 home, right?
Where is that home?
In Hove. That's the one she's bought.
in Westminster, in Whitehall?
Because that's not hers, that's in Admiralty House. That's no more her home than 10 Downing Street belongs to Keir Starmer, right? So she sold the part of her house in Ashton-under-Lyne because she's divorced the husband with whom she shared it, and she's used the money to get a flat in Hove. There is nothing odd about this. I'm sure divorced couples everywhere have done the same thing.
Constituents in Ashton-under-Lyne. If Nigel Farage didn't have any kind of... He was never there, you know, this, that and the other... He'd be getting rinsed for this. She basically, it would seem, has just left her constituency.
No, I don't think that's the case. Well, look, if you're divorcing someone, right, you have to deal with the house, so that's the situation she's in.
But she's literally said this is her home, this is her primary residence. So she has left the constituency, and also it feels like she's using all these schemes like trusts and things like that. She's used some sort of wealth advisor as well. These are things that aren't accessible to your normal person. And I think our taxes are so complicated and so cumbersome that only the richest and the smartest who've got all the clever advisors and stuff know how to work them. Other people are going to get clobbered, like you're saying with the farmers. Normal people are getting clobbered.
But it just seems a little bit hypocritical, doesn't it? That, she, through tricks... There's nothing illegal, as far as we're aware, there's nothing illegal going on or anything like that, but through some kind of tricks of the trade, you could argue, she's been able to concoct a situation where she's legally banned from talking about it. She's been able to move around the country and do what she likes, avoiding, not evading, avoiding as much tax as possible. She said that tax avoidance was... kills people or something. She did a tweet a little while ago, it's like years ago. She said basically tax avoidance costs lives. That was it. Well, so how many lives does she cost?
Right, if you've got an ISA, that's tax avoidance, right? Is that costing lives? All the people who are watching that? Anybody who's ever decided, you know...
They come in for your ISA.
I'm sure. Well, I'm sure there'd be nothing left
They already
by the
have
time they're done, right?
They've frozen the amount, so that's essentially fiscal drag.
Thank God they've saved so many lives then, according to Angela Rayner. It is exactly as you say. It's the hypocrisy of this stuff, right? If you've got lawyers and you've got wealth advisors who can help you work out this stuff, you won't do it. The super, super rich don't pay inheritance tax. They don't pay all kinds of other things because the system is so complicated and so many loopholes that you can exploit it. It's just the rest of us who end up having to do it. And actually, by the way, because Angela Rayner has done some of this stuff, our taxes will be that much higher than they would otherwise have been.
Oh, come on.
Which would be fine if you were a low-tax crusader and you understood that, say, the poorest 10% of people in this country pay the highest as a proportion of their income in tax, when you include all the indirect taxes that you pay and things all the time. But she's the kind of person that goes, our tax is really great, it's really, really brilliant, except when it comes to looking after her own family. Fine, that's a perfectly normal thing that people believe, but she's the hypocrite for doing it herself.
But she paid £40,000 in stamp duty for this property. The question is, it would have been £70,000 if it were a second property rather than her primary property. But she sold her first house, so she's not super rich, she's not a hypocrite. And actually, I think there's a lot of classist judgment in this, that people look at a working class woman who's, you know, speaks in a Mancunian accent. I used to live in Ashton at one point, where she's from. It's a fairly poor working class area, or at least it was when she grew up. And you've seen someone go for that to this successful life, right? She left school at 16, immediately got a job. She was a carer for a disabled mum. She raised her kids. She's got a fantastic salary, a fantastic job. I think the fact we look at someone like Angela Rayner and want to kick her down says something about this country. We should celebrate.
Kicking her down.
I don't think we're kicking her down. I don't buy this. I mean, I think she's a working class girl who's made good. But she's made good. She's not, you know, she's not down the food bank struggling away. She's got lots of money and she's successful. So I think you know, people are right to point out the hypocrisy. I think, you know, good on her for doing well. A lot of people did well under the Tories. We've got to give the Tories credit for making Angela Rayner rich. But I think if you're using wealth advisors, like fancy pants wealth advisors and trusts and schemes and stuff, I mean, come on. What's wrong with just signing on?
I mean, look, excuse me, the pattern of behaviour here would indicate that at some point she has employed someone to try to tell her how she can avoid paying as much tax as possible. That is the pattern of behaviour.
No, I don't think it is.
That's the hypocrisy, I would suggest.
And, of course, she was also able, in between the Ashford place and the Hoe place, she's got a government-funded house that she can live in a very nice bit of town, right, that she can have in the same way the Prime Minister has Chequers that he can go off to at the weekend to unwind. How many of the rest of us, when you're doing this, can do that?
Oh, come off it.
Actually end up having to stay on someone's sofa or something?
100% of people who become Deputy Prime Minister could have that flat, right? She earned that by getting that job.
All right, fair enough. Right, OK, coming up, there's still a lot to go. There's been a little bit of a reshuffle today behind the scenes in number 10, which means that this guy...
And when you see that the majority of the people in these boats are children, babies...
Yeah, he's now Sir Keir Starmer's new right-hand man. So drink that in, everybody. Rachel Reeves is, quote, smiling through the pain. See you soon.
Hello again, very good evening to you. This is your GB News weather update from the Met Office. Now, the generally unsettled theme will continue as we go through the rest of today, overnight into tomorrow. Lots more showers to come, even a spell of more persistent rain in the south because there is a front that's pushing its way in from the Atlantic. But generally the story is a low pressure firmly in charge, and this will continue to drive some showers in, particularly across northern and western parts as we go overnight. Elsewhere, something a little bit drier and clearer, and under those clear skies, it could be a little bit cooler than it was last night, whilst towns and cities are generally going to hold up in double figures. A few rural spots likely to drop into single digits. And then through tomorrow, well, a big talking point will be the more persistent rain across southern parts. So Devon, Cornwall getting off to a cloudy start, some heavy bursts of rain as this front makes its way in, even across some parts of South Wales. But further east, a drier story, albeit a few showers towards the coast. Also coastal showers for parts of Northern Ireland, Northern England, and also large chunks of Scotland. The showers across Scotland are likely to be heaviest, most frequent in the west, and they could be thundery here. here. Elsewhere, the showers not as frequent, not as widespread as those that we saw today, and less likely to be heavy, less likely to be thundery. But across the southern areas, we do have that frontal system making its way further east, so some rain for many, and it could be quite heavy. There could be some thunder mixed in with it as well. Temperatures are going to be similar to today. We're looking at high teens, low 20s, so feeling warm enough in any sunny breaks, but less so in the unsettled weather. Talking of unsettled weather, Wednesday's looking pretty wet, and it could be quite windy as a spell of rain makes its way across much of the country. Perhaps western Scotland avoiding this and staying largely fine. And then a showery picture on Thursday before a bit of a northwest-southeast split on Friday, wetter towards the northwest. Bye-bye.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates, 5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5. You got me. You got me good there. Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show.
It's not a bad brand.
Yeah. Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight.
On the unpredictable.
What did she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace
Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
Welcome back to the latest edition. We'll give you Tuesday's front pages. This section we're focusing on The Guardian because there's been a little bit of a mini reshuffle today, hasn't there? The Prime Minister tries to regain policy control from the Treasury in number 10 shake-up. So Keir Starmer has attempted to wrestle back control of economic policy from Rachel Reeves' Treasury by bolstering his number 10 team. In fact... well, he's pinched Darren Jones, who was Rachel Reeves' number 2, and he's now his number 2. But Sir Keir Starmer tried to sell this reshuffle like this earlier today.
Summer's definitely over, and this morning we've got all the number 10 staff together and talked through what phase 2 of the government is going to look like and feel like. So we go into phase 2, 1st of September 2025, in good spirits, confident and with conviction about what we're doing. It needs a more powerful number 10, so we've added to the team with some really important new members. I made a number of other changes, but this is about focus on delivery now, marching forward to the next phase of government.
How many phases are there? Yeah, this is the thing. Phase 1 was such a success, but what do you make of this reshuffle and what we just saw there?
I mean, it's not going to work. It really isn't going to work. You may be able to have one economic advisor that she's now got in Baroness Shafiq, who had to quit running Columbia University after only 13 months because of her mishandling of all the anti-Semitism that was going on the campus there. And Rachel Reeves will still have 2,000 civil servants in the Treasury, and so the Chancellor will always be able to beat up the Prime Minister when it comes to these things, which is just as well, because however bad people at home might think Rachel Reeves is, she's still the best person they've got. She's still probably the most sensible when it comes to reducing spending. I can't believe I'm saying that, but it's true. Yeah. And she's the only one who understands any private sector experience at all in that whole cabinet. Yeah. It could always get worse if she ends up...
Worked at a desk at Royal Bank of Scotland. But, I mean, this is the terrifying thing about it. This is, like, you'd think Labour are maybe want to, like, rein in some of the spending since we're running a ridiculous 5% deficit. We're possibly going to default and have to be bailed out by the IMF, like in the 70s. And instead, you know, our borrowing costs are higher than they were under Truss's government. And instead of, like, reining in the spending and trying to balance the books a bit, Starmer is actually, no, Reeves is holding us back. We need to spend more. It's absolutely insane.
Not just higher than under the Truss back, but consistently for a long time now, much, much more expensive. And that means that it's more expensive to borrow money. So the amount of money that we spend every year from people's taxes goes up and up, which means you've got less money to spend on other things. And that just keeps growing and it keeps compounding. When you talk about an IMF bailout, the IMF is not going to have enough money to be able to bail us out at this rate. Right? That's the really scary thing. And when you have a proper sovereign debt crisis like that, and you've got Keir Starmer in phase 2, maybe that's phase 3, when we have the full international debt crisis, that could be his glorious phase 3.
I shudder to think what phase 5 is. Yeah, or what is it? Are we all just naked, where nothing but loincloths, just fighting each other.
We all want to go back to Somalia then.
In Lidl, you know, for just what remains of any kind of German ham.
Phase 5 is the Bastille getting stormed, I think.
Yeah, metaphorically, of course. The Daily Telegraph, just because the Daily Telegraph got a similar story on the front page. It's the smiling Rachel Reeves. Don't cry again, Rachel. Whatever you do, do not cry again. You bought yourself a bit of time with the tears last time because he was going to sack you, but then he saw you weeping and he couldn't. But anyway, do you think that Rachel Reeves, Benjamin, is being a little bit undermined here? She puts on a brave face after being frozen out by Starmer's cadre of left-leaning finance experts will now oversee the budget, says the Telegraph.
It does look like there's some kind of power struggle. I mean, there's always a power struggle between Prime Minister and Chancellor, and it's usually fine, it's healthy. But when you're the Prime Minister's bringing in advisors that seem to be on the left of the Chancellor, a slightly different agenda to the Chancellor, then that suggests there's quite a meaningful rift between the two of them. So, I think that is happening. And the Prime Minister has taken Darren Jones, who was, the top minister after Reeves in the Treasury, taken him to Downing Street and then hired in these advisors. So something is clearly going on. There's clearly a disagreement. But I actually don't rate Rachel Reeves that highly because lots of the mistakes the Labour government has made, I don't think it was wrong, but it didn't land well. Winter fuel cuts. Well, that was a Rachel Reeves idea. So I'm not convinced. That wasn't a bad idea.
It was
a right idea, but it was terribly executed.
Yeah. I mean, they really need to make some... They really need to sell these ideas better to the nation, because I think the nation would be on board with it. People would be like, yeah, if this is what it takes to save our country, yeah, I'll work an extra couple of years, raise the retirement age, and maybe scrap the winter fuel.
I don't think they would tolerate that.
I think people would be, if you could sell it to them, if you could point to the alternative future, which is kind of what we have now, people would really be on board with it. I think people would be willing to suffer a little bit to save the country.
I think that's right. If you look back to the 2015 general election, the Tory slogan, long-term economic plan, what they were saying was, look, Miliband is lying to you. If he says it's all that easy, it's not. We've still got to tighten our belts. That was true then. It's even more true now because COVID and all the loans that went have made the public finances much, much worse than this. But you can't have that argument of we're all in this together, it's all going to be difficult, if you keep spaffing all this money out, including on giving houses to asylum seekers and all the rest of it. They're not serious when it comes to this stuff.
Well, that is part of it, Benjamin, which is that now I think people's eyes are being opened. They're questioning, well, where is my tax money actually going? If you're going to keep hiking it, where is it going? And you do see things like brand new £300,000 homes for asylum seekers with underfloor heating, ensuite bathrooms and electric vehicle parking. And you wonder, could we have done without that expense?
But these things were happening under the Conservatives. They ramped up massively. Boris Johnson was the biggest spender of recent years. There was nothing he didn't want to spend money on if it got some... But even before then, he seemed to think spending money was the answer to everything. I think...
Well, for all the criticism of the Conservatives, you remove them, only the 100 ministers, the 100 special advisors, because that's all there is. Only 200 people across the whole of government changed when Starmer came in. You remove them, and suddenly everything gets much, 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 much worse. So to me, that you blame the Labour government and you blame the civil servants under it. But you think with Rachel Reeves, I have defended her. I've got to have a quick pop at her now. You used to have someone like Alan Greenspan, who is the chairman of the Federal Reserve in America. People would look in a run-up to a rate decision. Is the colour of his tie a bit lighter? Is that good news? Does his briefcase look a little bit heavier because he's reading a bit more? And then you cut to Rachel Reeves and she's just openly crying in the House of Commons. What's that going to say to the markets?
Yeah, fair enough. All right, let's whiz ourselves on. We're going to do a couple of stories when we come back about what's inside some of tomorrow's newspapers, and the Daily Telegraph is one of them. Apparently, Meta's AI tool is under fire after it allowed users to generate fake topless images of celebrities. Apparently Leo Kearse was hit by this.
No, that was real.
Was it?
My breast really looked like that.
Gosh, good for you. Well, anyway, does it undermine the Online Safety Act? Is it just good fun? Stay tuned.
I forecast a perfect holiday in the sun.
Weather looking good then?
For sure, and no worries about our travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello there. It's remaining unsettled across parts of Central Europe as we go for the next few days. Either side, plenty of dry and sunny weather to be had. There could be a few showers on Tuesday across parts of the Canaries, but still plenty of dry and fine weather to be had. And for much of Iberia, actually plenty of sunshine around. But then we come back into the risk of some severe thunderstorms across parts of Italy and southern France. But then for much of Greece and Turkey, it's back to the sunshine with temperatures in places here reaching the low 30s.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Miriam, you can't be serious. Scrapping the triple lock on state pensions? Madness.
Andrew, we just can't carry on pretending. The numbers just don't add up. We've got to be honest with people. We've got to face the facts. That's what people want.
Well, that's what you get on GB News and on Britain's Newsroom. Lively debates, lively conversation.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first, and we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pearce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christys Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christys Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
isn't it? Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Britain was once the envy of the world, but look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m, only on GB News.
Welcome back to Late Edition. OK, so now, you know how before the break we played you a little video of Sir Keir Starmer doing his thing about we're in phase 2, everything is phase 2, and we thought, gosh, that's a bit weird. Well, my friend here, James, reminded me of an even weirder clip of Sir Keir Starmer. It appears like he's trying to recreate The Office with Ricky Gervais, both with that clip before and then this.
Before your wedding day, everyone says it's going to be the best day of your life. And yeah, you think, well, I'm not sure. What about when Arsenal won the double?
He's the coolest man in European football. Ever since I was a kid,
That's horrific. That's like a war crime.
I mean, his football's better than his boxing.
Yeah, well, that's a low bar, isn't it? I don't know, what is that all about? What about when Arsenal won the double?
The thing is, he actually does like football, and he manages to talk like someone who's only just been told what football is, and that he's got to talk about it to be relatable. About 20 years ago, Tony Blair went on Match of the Day, and he was asked your favourite footballers, and obviously his crack team of advisors had got him ready for this. She said Steven Gerrard, Frank Lampard, and then a bloke called Steed Malbronk, who played for Fulham, who no one had heard of, to make it seem like he really knew what he was talking about.
No.
And even Blair was more convincing than Starmer on this
But
stuff.
he's also just like the way that they act. So they put this out themselves. That wasn't like somebody else taking the mick, playing a video, Keir Starmer playing football. Labour, he did that.
But he's an ordinary guy, right? You know, he plays football. He tries to play football every Sunday with his friends. I do, absolutely.
No, you don't.
Boris Johnson was the one who hated football, never went to the pub, had nothing in common with anyone, and yet, you know, he hoodwinked everyone into thinking he was ordinary. Keir Starmer is a regular working-class bloke who's running the country.
He went to private school and then Oxford and is a Knight of the Realm and all the rest of it. No one believes this stuff at all.
Went on a holiday to a Czechoslovakian work camp when he was 16, like a normal guy.
He used to edit that.
Lovely this time of year.
Newspaper.
Did he? I don't know, but what was that?
I can't remember what it was
He was
called.
a newspaper editor.
No.
I was a student.
Student, yeah, it would have been, but anyway. Anyway, moving on. Right, so a chatbot is created by Mark Zuckerberg's Meta, which is the company that owns Facebook and Instagram and other things, allowed social media users to create topless images of celebrity. Oh, no. It's the nightmare scenario. Right, so before the break, I said, having not read the story, is it all OK? Or, like, is it just a bit of fun? I've not read the story, and then we joked in the break. We joked in the break that, oh no, having not read the story, what if it says this? And then here it is, OK? It created topless images of celebrities, including child stars. So with the Online Safety Act now passed, questions are being asked about whether tech giants are doing enough to protect users from harmful content. Well, welcome to the end of my career, chaps.
You could have put it as a headline.
You could have told me before I made a joke about, oh, is it just a bit of fun? So, OK, it's being egregiously used by paedophiles. Brilliant, right. So this is bad. I don't know where we go from here. So this is bad, isn't it? Isn't it?
It is indeed very, very bad.
Yeah.
But there is something here about the AI is now very powerful, but it doesn't understand a lot of human social mores. So a couple of years ago, when England football stars got attacked and people were sending the banana emoji to black footballers, that got through a lot of the barriers that Facebook had put in place to prevent people from being abused. Because the AI was innocent enough, it didn't realise why that might be offensive. So you have got to train these systems to understand the kind of things that we all take for granted. But the alternative, of course, is that you type into one of these things, show me a picture of George Washington was a famous example, and they would make George Washington black, even though historically, obviously, he wasn't black. And so you've got all these sorts of problems about whether what you train it with and what kind of things you tell it to watch out for. It's fine when it's just generating images, but as this technology gets more powerful, it starts running cars, it starts running nuclear-powered submarines, you've got to make sure you get this stuff right.
Yeah. The question is, with an awful court story like this, is what does the law do? Because there was a thing recently where someone had been using a Meta video game thing, and the character had been a victim of a sexual assault in the video scenario, and was that legally classed as an assault? Yeah. Because they were wearing a VR, what's it called?
Headset.
Yeah, and so for that child, that felt extremely real, but it wasn't real. So what does the law do?
Quite. Well, there we go. We'll never know, I suppose.
You'll never know. You won't be back.
I won't be back after that. Yeah, well, there you are. So you can always... in my defence, it's an inside story in tomorrow's newspaper front page, which there's no way I could have physically read before. But anyway, there we go. Right, shall I finish with a roundup of the newspapers? The Guardian, PM tries to regain policy control from the Treasury in number 10 shake-up. The Daily Telegraph, smiling through the pain. That's Rachel Reeves there, having lost one of her staff to a reshuffle. The Express, Farage, I'll get rid of you, threat to Prime Minister. He's basically saying he's going to... Yeah, well, this is what I'm saying, really. Get rid of Starmer, but that's kind of his job, really, isn't it? The Metro, I'd be safer in Somalia. It's a bloke who is an asylum seeker who's convicted of a crime here, who wants to go back to Somalia because he thinks it's safer. The Times, refugees to be stopped bringing in families. The Mail, 3,567 in, 0 out. They're making a mockery of that so-called one-in, one-out deal with the French. The Sun, Strictly Fat Jabs alerts. Apparently 5 stars on Strictly Come Dancing on fat jabs. I'm yet to find out exactly why this is a problem. But anyway, the Mirror, ban the vapes, they say. And the Eye, Starmer seizes grip of budget after Treasury mistakes hit Labour in the polls. Right, that's all for me. Thank you very much to our wonderful panel. Cheers, guys. Tremendous to have you on board. Thank you for watching and listening. If you're watching us on the replay in the morning, then breakfast is up next. Stay tuned. See you then.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello again, very good evening to you. This is your GB News weather update from the Met Office. Now, the generally unsettled theme will continue as we go through the rest of today, overnight into tomorrow. Lots more showers to come, even a spell of more persistent rain in the south because there is a front that's pushing its way in from the Atlantic. But generally the story is low pressure firmly in charge, and this will continue to drive some showers in, particularly across northern and western parts as we go overnight. Elsewhere, something a little bit drier and clearer, and under those clear skies, it could be a little bit cooler than it was last night, whilst towns and cities are generally going to hold up in double figures. A few rural spots likely to drop into single digits. And then through tomorrow, well, a big talking point will be the more persistent rain across southern parts. So Devon, Cornwall getting off to a cloudy start, some heavy bursts of rain as this front makes its way in, even across some parts of South Wales. But further east, a drier story, albeit a few showers towards the coast. Also coastal showers for parts of Northern Ireland, Northern England, and also large chunks of Scotland. The showers across Scotland are likely to be heaviest, most frequent in the west, and they could be thundery here. Elsewhere, the showers not as frequent, not as widespread as those that we saw today, and less likely to be heavy, less likely to be thundery. But across southern areas, we do have that frontal system making its way further east, so some rain for many, and it could be quite heavy. There could be some thunder mixed in with it as well. Temperatures are going to be similar to today. We're looking at high teens, low 20s, so feeling warm enough in any sunny breaks, but less so in the unsettled weather. Talking of unsettled weather, Wednesday's looking pretty wet, and it could be quite windy as a spell of rain makes its way across much of the country. Perhaps western Scotland avoiding this and staying largely fine. And then a showery picture on Thursday before a bit of a northwest-southeast split on Friday, wetter towards the northwest. Bye-bye.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
It's our biggest Great British giveaway to date. You could be driving away with this brand new Benamar Primera motorhome. This 4-berth home from home comes complete with integrated kitchen and bathroom areas and has all of the tech you'd expect from the latest 2025 model. We'll also give you an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash to make sure that any adventures you take in your new motorhome are taken in style. For a chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact is Trump made a good start. No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's political podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
No,
Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Very, very good evening to you. This is GBNews Tonight with me, your host, Martin Daubney. Coming up on tonight's show.
Bringing forward new immigration rules this week to temporarily suspend new applications under the existing dedicated refugee family reunion route.
Yes, the Home Secretary Yvette Cooper today pledged to crack down on the migrants' reunification regime that allows families of refugees who can't even speak English to come and claim benefits in the UK. And meanwhile...
In councils alone, you're looking to March 24, which is the last audited numbers, about £66 billion. What is that? It's bigger than our annual defence budget.
Yes, tonight Richard Tice will be joining me live in the studio in just a moment as he announces his bombshell plan to make billions of pounds in savings for British taxpayers. And for those of you feeling taxed enough already, today's government reshuffle could be even worse news for you. Find out why in just a moment. And finally...
We're running an open borders experiment.
Well, is this government running an open borders experiment too? My final guest revealed some astonishing truths about the scandal around student visas, and that's legal migration.